That's for sure. Now in later years, I have a wonderful relationship with my mother, thank goodness. But
she's not listening today, is she, sweetie?
I don't know.
I love you, Rosa.
But the reality is that my mom, brought with her some control issues, and I learned that from her. And in my relationships and in that long 15-year marriage that I was in, I didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to fix the person that I was with. I felt like I needed to control every aspect of their life. And in doing so, I really emasculated. It was a harsh thing for me to have to admit, but I feel like I emasculated him and made him into more of like my child. And my own illness and disease thinking process really came about in that relationship.
Awesome, and you know what, and that is the crux of codependency, and that you allow yourself to then be in a role where you don't know how to receive love by being yourself and being needed. You learn to receive love by somebody needing you.
Absolutely.
The more that you give to somebody, the more that you do for somebody, the more that you're there for somebody, that's your value, that's your worth.
That's the only way I felt worthy,
Absolutely.
as if I was doing for another person.
Absolutely, thank you. We're going to go to a call right now. Hello, Anna. What can I do for you today?
Hi, Kristy. I've listened to your show before.
Awesome. Thank you.
Pretty cool, actually, learning about myself. I'm in therapy and in a 12-step program, so I can relate to Rose. And I was touched by some of the things she just said.
I'm glad to hear that.
Having control issues with men. That's been one of my problems. I've been a great caretaker and tried to control their behavior, tried to make them right, trying to rescue them. And
trying to make them fit into the mold that you feel is acceptable to you.
Yes. Exactly.
I can relate.
What usually happens, sweetie?
It usually doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then I walk away angry, see how much I did for this person, and look what he does, and he treats me like crap and walks away. How dare he?
Yeah.
Well, those of us that are caretakers, I think, are also have people-pleasing issues in their life, and I've heard a lot of this in the 12 steps, that people-pleasing has an evil twin named resentment.
Very good. Very true.
I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, Anna, it sounds like, too, when you're in that role, like Rosie, and actually I was in that role, too, because my father was the alcoholic. When you get that rejection and you don't get that emotional availability from a father growing up, you don't get just being a cute little girl gets their attention. The only thing that gets our attention is by being smart or being good students or by achievements or by helping other people, so that when we try to love others and we try to love men, we try to love from that place, not from the place of, wow, you should just love us because, like, we're awesome, because Daddy didn't tell us we were just awesome when we weren't doing anything. And, it sounds like, you said that you're in therapy, and just work on allowing yourself, Anna, to love yourself fully for just what you are, and show men in relationships. Don't go out showing men what you need to do to help them, but let them see who you are just the way that you are. Meaning, I remember going out on a date and my therapist saying, don't tell them anything about yourself. Let them do all the asking. Let them ask the questions. Let them be interested in finding out about you, rather than you doing all the work, which is what you've done your whole life, trying to get other people to like you, that you're likable just the way that you are. I hope that helps you a little bit. Do you have any more questions for our guest speaker or anything else you'd like to say?
No. But I've just enjoyed listening to the show, and I'll keep listening.
I hope so, sweetie. It was nice talking to you today. Thank you, Anna. Bye.
Thank you, Anna.
And that was great, too. And you know what? I just want to say to listeners out there right now that there are so many of us. And you know what? They're not all women. There's a lot of men that grew up in families where they learned to take care of their mother. Maybe their mother was an alcoholic or mentally ill, and they are in the exact same role of picking women that are wounded. I call them being attracted to strays. You know, I have so many patients, including myself. I used to say my most romantic fantasy, a man with a job, you know, and a car and a license and anything else that went with it, is because we were set up in roles to where we felt that the only way that we were valuable as people is if we took care of somebody else. So you know what, I want to get to the good stuff with you, Rosie, because I've known you a good long time, and I know that you went through withdrawal, and I know that you were in that hard place. Was there ever a time in therapy or a moment that you can kind of recall for us that was really difficult, that you thought maybe you wouldn't make it?
Well, the therapeutic process in and of itself was very life-changing for me in a very positive way. It allowed me to start looking inside at things that I had been, I don't want to say ignoring. I think what I was doing with them is I was pushing them down with food. So when I started to open up and I started abstaining from the constant intake of food as a way to alleviate some of that pain, there was no other choice but for me to look at those things. And it was very, very hard. When I began to come to the realization that the marriage that I was in was going to be the death of me, not because I was being physically abused, but because my own disease had taken over to such a point that I was not able to let go of control, and I was not able to stop trying to control every behavior, every word, every action that my ex-husband was doing. So when I got out of the relationship, I think I spent just months crying day after day after day, just feeling guilty and feeling bad that I had left somebody that may have needed me so much. And little did I know, I think that it was probably the best thing that happened to him, because he was able to finally go out there and, start living the life that he was meant to live outside of my control. But I do remember one of the most difficult days for me in withdrawal was when I found myself pacing in the driveway. I'd moved into my mom's house temporarily and put everything in storage, and pacing in the driveway talking to you on the phone.
I remember
and telling you that I could not take another moment of this, and I needed to do the kind of I dream of Jeannie, or, snap my fingers and disappear. Thank God I've never had that moment where I wanted to actually kill myself, but I know so many people have been through that, and I've seen, the pain that can cause. But I did want to disappear, and I wanted you to help me to disappear. And I said, you better find a place to stick me, whether it's, in a closet or in a mental institution. You just better find a place to put me, because I cannot face this another day. And I remember what you said to me. You just have to hang on. And, there's been rare people that have talked to me with that kind of authority. And there's a lot of things that you've said to me along the way that have really given me cause for pause. And that was one of them, when you said, you have got to hold on, because you're the only one that can get through this. And you said, as you often say, the only way out is through. And I'm a very visual person, and for me to be able to visualize, not going and skirting around every issue like I did in my, all the rest of the previous part of my life, that meant a lot. That meant that I had to walk through it, no matter how painful it was.
Yeah, and walk you did, Rosie. You have come so far, and I do remember that moment, and I think, and talking to you over the years. And by the way, Rosie is now my editor, who is writing my book with me and is editing everything for me. And in a minute, she's going to tell us how she got to a place to where she met the husband that she's married to today, and how different it is to be in a relationship that's healthy. And she's been married for a while, and I'm going to let her tell us that. But one thing, I was talking to her today at lunch, and she brought up the most important part of all of this, which is that you have to have a healthy relationship with yourself. You have to learn how to fall in love with yourself before you can ever have the kind of fulfilling, loving relationship with somebody else. Water seeks its own level. If I am broken and I come out of a family where I am broken and I go to meet somebody, I'm going to meet broken people. Broken people end up with broken people.